Wondering how your mindset affects your life? How to bring more energy into your business and life? Millions of people around the world ask these same questions daily. You are in the right place. Learn practices that will help give your life the meaning and success you've been searching for. Welcome to the Charge Podcast, teaching you how to create habits around real goals every day. Practical life advice from those who made it. Here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
When running a small business, you face new challenges every day. There are so many distractions during the daily grind. You feel overwhelmed and frustrated. Everyone should have the ability to reach their full potential in business and life. The Ascend Mastermind Peer Advisory Board will give you access to other like-minded individuals to share your challenges with and hold you accountable. It will help you move from stagnant to growth and give you more freedom in your business and life. Each quarter, we'll tackle a new area of the positive culture blueprint: health, connections, wealth, and even contributions. Imagine your business growing without you being stuck in the day-to-day operations. Imagine your next family vacation and you're fully present. Imagine having the freedom and flexibility you desired when you became a business owner. It's time to move from your imagined future and turn it into reality. You can have it all: a profitable business, impactful relationships, and even family time. So go to thechargepodcast.com and click on the link for your free discovery call to see if you qualify for the Ascend Mastermind today. Welcome, Chargers. We're glad to have you back again this week for another great guest. Can you believe we're already in that second quarter of 2022? Time keeps rolling by, but the thing is, each week we bring you a great guest with a lot of great information, and I'm excited to share our guest with you today. Bew White III is chairman of the board of Gabriella White, and it's a brand Summer Classics, Gabby and Wendy Jane. In 2013, he was named Entrepreneur of the Year by the Society of International Business Fellows. And in 2001, Bew received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the International Casual Furnishings Association. He is also the subject of well-received biography, A Summer Classic, The Bew White Story by Christopher Taunton. Bew graduated from Auburn University in 1972 with a degree in textile engineering. The phrase outdoor living had hardly been coined, as outdoor furniture was simply known as a table and chairs you would find on a basic patio deck. Things have changed. At just 28 years old, Mr. White left his job in his family-owned business of Avondale Mills and started a sales representative company in 1978 called Vista Corporation, specializing in selling outdoor furniture. In 1987, Bew started multiple companies in an effort to expand from selling on the road to building a national brand. One of those companies was Summer Classics, which was created around Bew's thought of designing and manufacturing products that he would want for his own backyard. With a business model based on creating products that were consumer-driven, they would stand the test of time and would not go out of style. Summer Classics officially took off in 1987. Bew, it is great to have you on the Charge Podcast. Welcome.
Great to be here. Thank you, Gary. Awesome.
I can't wait to get in the story, because for all entrepreneurs, there's always that challenge that comes up. But the thing is, you kind of saw something before the time, and that's really where great entrepreneurship and really business owners make a big difference. And I'd love to start with, I think, as I did some research, Bew, is what led you to want to tell your story of your life? And how did you connect with Christopher Taunton to write this book for you?
Well, what happened is I almost died. That's really, I found myself in the hospital in 2013 with 5 blood clots in my lungs. And one of those clots went through and my heart stopped. And most people don't realize this, but when you're about to die, you get a signal to your brain that says, you got a few minutes here, bud, we're out of here. Eternity awaits you. And they brought me back to life. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I'm supposed to be dead, So I got a signal to my brain going like, you need to write the book. I had actually been working on this thing since 2010 because my friends were going like, what you've gone through during the Great Recession is incredible. Not just that, but all the stories you have about your business. You need to write a book about it, get it down for your children and grandchildren. So I got the signal, let's write a book. And I was like, I don't know how to write a book, God. Okay, so through this. So I started trying to write it and it was terrible. And so I started looking for authors. And one of my friends Larry Taunton is a really good writer and has written a bunch of books. And I called him and he said, I'll help you. I'll get my son. He's just getting out of seminary. I'll get him to sit with you and I'll edit and work with him. Okay, great. So that's really how I hooked up with Christopher Taunton.
That is awesome. Well, and in such a story, I know my first book took 3 years to really get rolling too. We say we want to do it, but it takes a lot more work to get started than what you think. And
it took 8 years?
Yeah. So it adds on time. Yeah. Now, was that, we talked about a little bit, and some of the research that I did is you had kind of that impactful event on your life. Was that the impact, or what goes back what was the most impactful event in your life that you had?
Well, I think the 2008 recession probably was, at least it was didn't sleep for like a year or maybe a year and a half, 2 years, where you're trying to, and I had an extremely large loan. I had a $20 million loan with the Royal Bank of Scotland, who was the largest bank in the world at the time. They had lost $60 billion in the fourth quarter of 2008. And so the only place they could get money was to go to their clients and get them to change their loans to a different bank so they get their money back. So they were putting a lot of pressure on their clients, and I just happened to be one of them. And so it was, and plus you couldn't move your loan during that period of time. So, but from a personal perspective, I think my 25th anniversary with my wife, I decided that if I didn't make it to my 50th anniversary, I need to go ahead and have that party So I said, I'm going to have a 25th anniversary party and celebrate that. And I think it really made me look back on my life and say, one of the things I thought I'd kind of screwed up was not my marriage, but I had a great relationship with my wife, but I needed to be nicer to her, I guess is the right word. Is just tell her. She always said, you love your company more than me. And I was it's taken me 25 more years to convince her that I love her more than the company, but I think I'm there. It's not something that's easy, but that made it. And I did this video and with my kids were on, I was like, my wife really is special. I need to concentrate on this, how special she is. That was critical.
That's one thing as entrepreneurs, one challenges we have is because, let's be honest, when you're first starting out, you end up becoming somewhat married to the business. Yeah. And sometimes we forget those most important to us. It's one thing that when I'm working with business owners, I really don't want them to forget because, I have my business name is Ascend Business Strategies. Well, Ascend is about climbing to the top. But I tell business owners all the time, you don't want to get to the top and be there by yourself. Yes,
you're right. You need to, in fact, the thing that she did for me more so than anything was support. At one point I was paying myself like $40,000 a year for like 11 years in a row. I was like, this is, I used to make $250,000 a year. I was like, this is crazy, Wendy, I can't do this. And she said, no, you can do it. I believe in you. You can do it. And I kind of picked myself up and go, okay, if you believe in me and I don't even believe in myself, then maybe I can do it.
Yeah. And normally that's what it takes is you got to have that support arm behind you because as an entrepreneur, there's some really rough days that come and sometimes they run not only as days, they run as years as you talked about. And you're wondering, is this really going to work or not?
Yeah. Yeah. And grit, I think is really important. The ability to push through. I mean, most people in this situation I was in with the Royal Bank of Scotland would have probably given up, and rightfully so, because they didn't know what to do. At one point, they pulled $2.5 million out of my bank, but they had warned me they were going to do it, and I didn't know what to do. So I started. And this is really about relationships, not just with my wife, but in this case, it was with vendors.
Yeah.
I went to my biggest vendor and went, I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, well, just don't pay me. I was like, ever? He said, no, just ride your payables. I'll keep shipping you and I'll take out, I said, well, how much? He said, $2 million. I said, okay, well, then I started picking up the phone, calling all my vendors, and I got close to $5 million in extra terms to be able to get through the difficult situation I was going through with the bank. And so situations like that are, you find yourself, you're praying, trying to, I can't figure this out myself. Give me wisdom.
Right.
And then you think of this and then it works.
Yeah. That's the key.
Yeah. Yes.
Really.
The key is it works, but there are a lot, we've had a lot I like to say I've got MBA in mistakes and I'm working on my PhD.
That's right.
You really learn by making a mistake and then, pivoting.
Yeah, and that's the key on entrepreneurs, business owners is willing. You're going to make mistakes, but you got to learn from them. You got to move forward. And then you always get those big challenges. It's like that $2 million there. That's a big challenge. And, you've got to figure out a way. And sometimes it's just really just trying to figure it out to move forward. Now, I know you said your wife's a big inspiration to you, but also your father was a big inspiration to you. Can you kind of tell me a little bit about the role he played in your life?
Well, I'll go back even further than that. My great-grandfather, I didn't know him, but my great-grandfather started a company called Avondale Mills that I went to work for in 1972. And it was a Fortune 500 company. So back then, people made fabric, and we actually sold it to cutters and cut and sew is what they call it. So Levi Strauss and Wrangler and H.D. Lee were our big clients because we're in the jeans business, right? We're mostly in kids' jeans material. And so everything was made in the United States back then. Well, I came this person in the fourth generation, and then 3 of my cousins came in right after me, and I went, oh my goodness, it's going to be a bloodbath. I'm going to be 50 and I'm going to want to be president. And I might not get it. I'm going to be really disappointed. And I was calling I was calling clients that had small businesses. And one day I went out to lunch with one. I asked him, you mind telling me what you pay yourself? And he told me, and we were public, so you could see what the CEO of Avondale made. And he made the same or more than the CEO of Avondale. I said, well, that seems like have your own business, and you can have your own business and make the same amount of money. And I could probably do it faster than seeing if I make it up that far, So I decided to leave. And so I called my father and said, I think I want to get into business. I want to start my own business. And he was on the board of Avondale. So he and my mother was there, and she was a big stockholder. And so I was going like, I know this sounds crazy, but I think I want to leave. I don't want to get into the politics of large business. I guess that's what I was saying.
Right.
And I think I can just do my own thing. So he helped me find a company. It turned out to be a disaster. It was my first, lesson in the MBA of mistakes. I had to leave 9 months later, but then I started my own company and made that work. I had to end up having to borrow money from my father to buy groceries. I couldn't. In that interim period where I quit that second job and started my own company, I had no income. So I look back how much I borrowed from him. It was $1,457. It felt like 20 million at the time. I mean, it's like,
yep. Yeah, and all business owners can look back and on them stories and say, oh my gosh. I mean, when I actually first got in business, I borrowed the people that I was working for. I was in direct sales and I was on commission only, and I borrowed them money to float some of their payroll, which I ended up getting a 90-day loan. And I think back now, why did I ever do that? But then I ended up owning that company, about 6 months later. So it's just one of the, you look back and you can never say. But the biggest thing is you're willing to take a risk and you're willing to put yourself forward. And it's one thing you've done, Bew, and I'm kind of really interested to hear the story about your company, Summer Classics, because, we've talked already about some of those challenges that has come, but how did it become that success that it is today? Number one, I know risk, but what would be some of them things that our listeners could take from it?
But I think differentiation, well, number one, stick with what you know, because I started all these other companies. You kind of said that in that beginning. I started like 8 or 10 companies because I decided I was a sales rep, and the business was totally dependent on me selling stuff. I was like, this isn't going to work, because if I get sick or something happens to me, no income. I need to start something that's not so dependent on me. And I called on Ralph Lauren when I was in New York with Avondale, and I had asked him. He at the time, he was so small he couldn't meet our minimums, but I was fascinated with the model, because he didn't really make anything. And he walked me through it, and I was like, wow, that's fascinating. He said, we could, not him, but his brother George, we can make anything, else we just have other people make it, put our logo on it, and we brand it. And whether it's cologne or ties or suits or women's clothing, we can do it. We could be in any business we want. I was like, that's a great model. And we concentrate on what people want to buy as opposed to running a factory.
Yeah.
So I set mine up the same way, and it's paid off dramatically. And so what you try to do is smell the marketplace, understand the market and where the market's going, and you concentrate on that, and you do your brand. You're constantly branding, which is what really took me into the retail business, because I was selling dealers. Still, dealers is the biggest part of our business, where we sell people that resell our product.
Right.
But retail is the biggest branding part of our business, because people go into a summer classic store and buy summer classics or Gabby or Wendy Jane in that store. And we can display it the way it should be displayed. And, the appearance is a lot better. In fact, near you, we have a store in St. Louis, and there's one in Chicago. This store is pretty close to you that are summer classic stores.
Yeah. If you've ever would have thought that it would have took off like that, would you?
Yes, I always did. I never had a doubt. I always did my calculation. I said, and I would at $2 million, we'd have a dinner with all the staff, and I would always say, this is a $500 million idea. We just haven't executed it yet. We're going to execute it. Hang around for the ride. It's going to be an incredible ride. But we're not there, but we can see it. Back then they're like, yeah, you're crazy,
Yeah.
But now the ones that have stuck around for 30 years, they're going like, wow, he's really going to do this. They're going to be a $500 million company. And so it's cool for those, particularly, we called them the children back then. It was the under 30s, and some of them are still with us, and they're like, man, this is going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's having that vision, and then getting up every day and moving forward in that, taking action, getting the setback, but then moving forward. And that's every entrepreneur's journey. And that, I hope we get some young people in here that's listening to it, that's part of the fun, but that's where you get them lessons in your MBA, by them mistakes, and you're able to move forward in that. Let's use that as an example, good kind of segue to it. If we have someone young listening, I know I've got a son that does the editing, and another one does some of our video things. What advice would you give to those just starting out in their career? Well,
if they're young enough, I'm talking about not out of school yet, I would suggest that they work. I started working when I was 13.
Yep.
And once I got to college, I went, okay, well, this is book knowledge, but this isn't what it's all about. I know how business works. I don't know totally, but I know enough that I'm not learning how to run a business here, or even I had 2 degrees. I had one in engineering, one in business. And I was like, okay, I need to get out, and because I need to learn how business works. I think that was critical for me. And so work your way through. Then also, and I hated my accounting classes, but learn how to read a financial statement.
Yes.
Once I got into my own business, I was like, I gotta figure out how to read these financial statements and figure out what to do, or I'm dead. So, and then you had to come out with financial statements every month. I think people don't. We sell to a lot of businesses that only do a financial statement once a year, and we constantly say to them, you really need to do it every month, because you're going to get to the end of the year and find out you got a huge problem, and you would have known 9 months ago or 11 monmonths ago if you'd have done it sooner. So learn how to read a financial statement is really critical, I think.
Oh, you are so right there. Be so many business owners, they think that's someone else. But if you don't understand what's coming in, the in and out, I mean, you can get in trouble really quick. I had a business owner one time tell me that when I coach, he says, well, I just don't enjoy doing that. I said, well, you better learn how to start to enjoy doing it, because otherwise you won't be around to see it, because
you don't have to enjoy it. I mean, it's not like, it's going to be difficult to do, which was for me. I'm a creative guy, so, but I was like, now I get it. I can't wait to get it. I can't wait to pour through it, like see work, and unfortunately this for the CFO, I'm looking for problems, I'm not looking for good stuff, or if something's too good. I mean, last month she had a one of the divisions making a 90% profit. I was like, that's impossible. And it was a mistake. But she fixed it. Unfortunately, it didn't screw with the road. I was like, man, if this is wrong, then we're going to go from a profit to half a profit.
Right. Real quick. I truly appreciate you sharing that. Also, let's talk a little bit about it. You've had a very successful life, but what does it take to live a successful life?
I think, to me, it's relationships. So I kind of described two already. One is with my wife. I like to say great wife, great life.
Yeah.
Great, amazing wife, amazing life. Think of this person you're living with, and it can work in reverse, but husband doesn't rhyme with life. So I haven't got anything like that. And fortunately, we're both guys, so we can say why.
That's right.
But it works the same way with your children and with your business associates, your employees, with your vendors, just about with any of your friends, And so I constantly work on developing relationships and encourage people. That's another thing I tell your kid getting out of school, your relationships with you, and then with the people around him, his friends. I choose your friends wisely, but if you're the right kind of person, that's going to happen anyway. And then your business, your vendors. I've learned so much by getting screwed by vendors that I'm like, okay. A lot of people think they get rich quick, and they can make a lot of money by doing something unethical. And you're going to run into those guys all the time. You're going to run into those guys, and just gotta pivot away from. And I'm a very trusting person, so I would just trust them, and then screw me once, shame on you. Screw me twice, shame on me.
Right. So true.
That's saying.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because that is key, and that's something that we all need to learn. It's about the relationships that we have in life that really take us there. And a lot of my listeners are small business owners and entrepreneurs, and they're kind of in that lower level that I call kind of in that stuck, where they're trying to move forward and get out of that stagnant mode into their growth mode. But one of the things, don't ever lose the relationships that's there, especially your family, your friends, but also, like he's talking about, your vendors. Find out who's willing to work with you, because they'll be with you thick and thin then through the good times and bad, and the people, because then when you grow and you have a hard time, they're going to come to your rescue and be part of that. And I think it's so important. I do a mastermind, and I think it's so important on the virtual mastermind. Part of what we share with them is they have their own board of directors in, because a lot of small businesses don't have anyone that they're able to really report to. But when you have that opportunity to have a peer of advisors, it makes a real difference in your business. And I would suggest to anyone, check that out. And I've got some resources, and we'll share that with you. But, don't think you have to go alone. You don't have to be the lone wolf trying to create your business.
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised how many board of directors will work for you for no charge.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed. When we first set up our board, they were saying, I called my lawyer and said, okay, I'm going to set up a board. And he said, well, what are you going to pay them? I was like, what should I do? And he gave me 3 scenarios. I took the middle one, but one of them was nothing. Don't pay them anything. And I bet they'll come anyway, because they'll want to help you. And they love this stuff. And all of them accepted, every single one accepted. And it's a pretty minimal amount of money, but I think they love it.
Yeah.
Now we're taking them to some fabulous places, well, COVID kind of stopped that for a while. So we've been doing one in Zoom and one in person, but you'll be surprised how much advice you can get from people that you wouldn't expect, they'll serve on your board.
Yeah. They'll work with you. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Bew, what's next for you before we go to the recharge round? We'll kind of wrap it up there.
Yeah, I'm not going to write another book. I've been looking at my Bible study teacher was giving a speech the other day, and he was talking about they're interviewing people between the ages of 80 and 90 about regrets. What are their regrets in life? And one of the number one regrets in life was I didn't take enough risk. Or I didn't have a good relationship with my family, or didn't spend enough time, whatever that's multiplex. But I said to him, that not taking enough risk, I think maybe I took too many risks.
Right.
Think of all the risk I took. I was out there because we were doubling every 3.5 years. And so it was like riding a roller coaster that's only going, it's fun, but you're going down the whole time.
Yeah.
So just like, and you don't know what to do, and you're growing so fast, and you haven't done this before. So you're just like trying to use your intuition to make decisions, and it's hard. But I'm really fortunate that I don't have a lot of regrets. I mentioned some, that when I was younger, not kowtowing to my wife enough, probably. That was a big one. And definitely my big one was not spending enough time with my children because I was building a business. And in fact, I was talking to my wife about this last night, and she said, yeah, we'd sit at dinner and you wouldn't be there. And I'd say, he's building a business for you, and one day you'll understand where he's gone, why he's gone so much. I was like, I thank you, but it's no way to get that time back. So
no.
I don't know. They understand now, but it's interesting though, because they see how great two of them work for me. 2 of the 3 work for me. So they totally get it now,
right.
But it was a sacrifice.
Well, congratulations on your journey, and it's not over yet, but you've done some great things, and all entrepreneurs have some of those regrets that's there. But the thing is too, you've made a difference in a lot of people's lives. And that's the thing, is you've got to realize is if you have that vision, what are you going for? The big thing is like you talked about, is learn not to give it all up. But the thing is, you're going to have to strive forward to be able to make that happen. And every entrepreneur has a roller coaster journey that they went on. And so really appreciate that. And I think the thing I would tell the people that's listening today is you can learn from others. And that's the real key. And that's why I wanted to have Bew on, because he's got a wealth of knowledge that he's able to share with us. And he wants to be able to share that. That's the fun part. Yeah. Is because entrepreneurs want to be able to pay it forward. And that's what Bew's doing with us today. And I can't thank you enough for joining us on the Charge podcast today, Bew.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate you having me.
Well, you got 2 questions you got to come through yet, and one of you kind of answered, but we'll come up with one thing. But my podcast is named Charge, and it's an acronym or a mantra that I have of create habits around real goals every day. What habit do you think's led to success in your life?
Well, then this is business habit. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation. It takes a moment to lose it. So integrity is a really important part of that. And then I have a couple of quotes. Planning is you get the future you plan for is my favorite quote. Mm. They attribute it to me because I don't know who wrote it. So it's like, I know I got it from somebody else, but I don't know who wrote it. But we're planning nuts. So constant planning. And you'll be surprised if you'll plan for the, kind of growth, incredible growth, you'll get it. We're having over 50% growth this year. And I'm like we planned 25, but it's like, I don't know. I was like, okay, we'll deal with it. I'm fine with 50% growth if we can get it. So I think those are 2 things. And then never run out of money. That was, I learned that the hard way. Just constantly watch your pennies, and pennies become dollars, become thousands of dollars, from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of millions. And it's even at the level we are, you really got to watch your money, never run out of money. Always have to make sure your bank line will cover your cash flow. So you can go out of business growing, and the banks don't like growth.
Right.
They don't, I mean, they want you to go get financing if you're going to grow like that.
It's a great advice. I appreciate you sharing that. Last question was kind of that do-over. We've all had those mistakes. We've talked about that a little bit, but if you had one do-over, what would it be for you?
I would have probably used Rogaine a little earlier.
That is a good one.
Yeah, you hadn't heard that one, have you?
I haven't heard that one.
That was a funny one. I think I would have spent more time with my children. So I kind of gave you a couple of that. I don't really have a lot of regrets, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I took so many risks, and that doesn't make me look back and say, "Boy, I didn't take enough risk."
Yeah.
And I have tried to spend a lot of time with them to make up for what happened. After my poor son has to talk to me 2 or 3 times a day. And I wanted to say to him, you can't imagine how I would love this with my father, have done this with my father. And as difficult as some of the conversations we might have are, it's incredible to be able to do that with your son, and it should be the other way around with him. So hopefully it is, but I think that's a really cool thing. And of course I get to talk to my daughter too a lot, but not as much as because he's running the company.
Right. Well, I truly appreciate you sharing that. That's great information. And if you want to check out the website, it's summerclassicshome.com. We're going to have that in the Charge podcast notes. And also, if you want to check out a little bit about Bew, we'll have that on the show notes too, is summerclassics.home.com/Bew, BEW -White. And we'll have that information there, and you can go check out his book. I'm going to pick that up because it sounds like a great read. You sharing your life story and being able to put it out there. And I just want to say thank you because, I don't think entrepreneurs get that enough, because we are the ones that take the risk, but, we're also the ones that really make the economy go and make things happen. You started as a very small company and then have grown it to a large company. But it's those risks that really makes that happen. So, Bew, I'm so glad you said yes, and so glad to get to know you on this podcast today.
Yeah, I think a lot of people watch the financial. Well, I do. I watch the financial news all the time, and they're reporting on these huge companies. But 80% of the economy is small companies.
Yes.
So, when the restaurants started going during COVID, you go like, I don't know, that's a big part of the economy. And these guys have made it through. It's amazing.
Yes. That's for sure. And this is going to be motivating to our listeners that listen, because I got a lot of small business owners that listen to my podcast. And that's the reason I wanted to have you on, because we can learn from others and realize business is going to be a roller coaster. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have those highs and you're going to have those lows. But the thing is, it's about really working through those and continually have, I think you said, I loved what you said on the habits, is the integrity. Build relationships with your people, and they'll withstand any time or any issue that comes forward with you, because they'll be in your corner.
Yep.
Bew, it's been great to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Charger,
appreciate it.
Super. Chargers, now I tell you, there's some action items here. You may want to listen to this podcast again, but the biggest thing I really would tell you, is take inventory of your relationships. I would tell you to take inventory of your relationships. And one thing, sometimes we get secluded as business owners. Instead, realize who's in your corner and who do you need to have in your corner, and reach out to those individuals and create your peer of advisors or board of directors, however you want to do it, or get in a mastermind. I have a mastermind group, and really learn from others, because they're going to be willing to share their expertise and their experience with you, and it'll allow you not to make some of the mistakes that they've made in life. So make it a great day, Chargers. We look forward to you being back here next week with another great guest. See you soon.
This podcast has ended, but your life doesn't just stop. To continue your inspiring journey, head over to chargepodcast.com and access all the tools and resources mentioned on today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing with somebody who may also benefit from the advice provided. That's chargepodcast.com. Until next time, charge in business and life.